The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
You got two sides of the ball that are kind of trending in opposite directions. For the defense, obviously, it is not good statistically. Although the trend, maybe that's not even fair. The trend is slightly better than it has been for the defense. The problem is they've started in such a hole that is a very, very relative statement. Let's get to Joe Whitt's thoughts on it for number one.
Number 1.
As Joe Whitt was asked, is this defense playing the way you wanted? I'm guessing you could guess his answer.
Not the identity that we want to be. We haven't played the brand of football that I was hoping for up until this point. And like I said, that's on me. We want to be a team that produces the ball. We haven't. Now the hitting, I think we're hitting the way that we want to. But we talk about energy. There goes the phone again. Energy. Creating ball, and we're not necessarily doing that all the way. So this is not the style that I envision right now, but we're trending that way. I can't. Grown man can't make him do anything.
I guess that was someone's phone going off in the middle of the press conference, which is always a good time. Look, Dan Quinn said it yesterday, Joe Whitt today. This is not what they want. They're not going to sit here and lie to us. The numbers are horrendous. Their DVOA is dead last. Their yards per this, their points per that. Like, none of it's good. They're 4th worst in the league in yards, 4th worst in the league in scoring. It's not good. They're giving up explosive plays. They're not generating turnovers. Like, literally none of it is what they want. They're just trying to get guys to do what they want more often. And there is a little bit more of that week after week. And there is a long way to go. Up front, there's ways to go in the back end. Their linebackers have probably been the most consistent group, but like Bobby Wagner's got some stuff he's got to clean up. Frankie Luvu's got some stuff he needs to clean up. But these are smart guys. They're pushing a lot of good buttons. And I think ultimately they will get them going in the right direction. Number 2, please.
Number 2.
Of course, the safety group has gotten a whole lot of attention, maybe a little bit less this week because Jeremy Chinn played his best game as a Commander so far. Quan Martin continues to be highlighted as a guy who is playing the way they want, fast, physical, delivering blows, doing a lot of good stuff, even if I think there's a couple things he clearly needs to clean up. But Joe Whitt was asked about the safety group and could perhaps Darrick Forrest work his way back into that group as someone who hasn't seen the field yet.
Right now, like I said earlier, that we haven't found the group that's going to go out there each week. I'm still waiting on a couple guys just to say, hey, I'm the guy that's going to just do this each weekend, and I don't care who it is. It could be somebody that hasn't played yet. It could be Chig. I don't care. I just want somebody to say, hey,
I got DQ now.
Go out here and play
Darrick Forrest next
football right now, and so that's what I'm looking for.
And I think that's interesting. And it's a good reminder that just because these guys aren't playing doesn't mean they're not practicing. So a guy like Defoe, and he said Chig as in Chiganuzium there, the corner, could he be a guy that steps up if he shines in practice? Yeah, we could get a surprise because we don't see practice. So I guess the follow-up then is, hey, how's Darrick Forrest practicing?
Forrest has done everything that we've asked him to do. He missed some time early, and I'm not down. I'm actually really high on Forrest, and he's somebody that when we can get more safety packages, that first off we have to get up and then get him on the field. But he's done everything. He's a great teammate. He's a great human being. And now we just got to find a way to get him on the field in certain spaces.
I'm sure they would love to, but they're limited by the active roster, and there's only so many safeties they're going to have, and whatever they would want to use Defoe for is not over what they use Jeremy Chinn for. It's not over what they use Quan Martin for. It's not over what they use Percy Butler for, and Tyler Owens is the best special teams player of the bunch outside of perhaps the former all-pro special teamer, Jeremy Reeves. And so unless one of those dudes goes down, I see I see it difficult to find the path for Defoe to get on the field. And that's, I do think like sometimes coaches will say, hey, he's doing everything we've asked, as a nice way to say like he's doing everything we've asked, but he's not better than the other guys. They don't want to say that part out loud because they don't want to put down their guy. I'm a commentator, not a coach, so I will say, like, the stuff that Jeremy Chin does in terms of like fitting runs and some of the really dirty work that maybe goes less appreciated, like Jeremy Chin's really, really good at that stuff. And you saw it last week as they got him in the box more and were able to do some stuff. And that's going to be super important this week against this Arizona Cardinals team. Like, this is a week where a guy like Defoe maybe could be really helpful, but like not over Chin. And so I'm curious to see if that evolves. Obviously, it's rare that everyone in the position group stays healthy, so there's always a chance, and it's good to hear that Defoe is doing the things they want, and maybe he could, make some plays if he got a chance. I'm not going to rule it out as impossible that if he makes a play in Week 10, like, oh, we told you. I never said Defoe wasn't a good football player. It's just that I don't think he's better, and he hasn't shown to be better, obviously, to them, than these other guys, and so he's still on the inactive list. As for the active inactives at corner, that's going to be an interesting watch this week. Number three. We got the corners rotating a bit, which I also think is interesting. And I told you guys on Monday, I really liked, or I guess Tuesday, I really liked the decision they made last week at corner to put Sainristil on the outside, play a lot of zone. Obviously, they put him in one really bad spot against Chase, but like, okay, that was one. He got beat by Jamar Chase. He's not the first, and he won't be the last. But ultimately, like, Mikey did a pretty good job, had a couple of nice, really big plays, but it also took him out of the slot when they had Noah Igbenogany as their next guy up, and Noah's a better slot than he is outside. And so you got a little more physical in the slot. You got a little bit bigger body in there. And also, if you're going to have to play Noah, you played him at the better position while not taking a huge downgrade. Like the downgrade of Mikey to Noah outside is bigger than the downgrade of Mikey to Noah inside. So you make the smaller downgrade. And I like that. So the question is now, as Emmanuel Forbes comes back into the mix, what does this rotation look like?
Yeah, once we get everybody healthy back, with Forbes coming back healthy, and then we can see exactly, where we're going to put Mikey, where we're going to put Forbes, and what we're going to do with Juice. And then you have Noah in there as well. So it's fluid. Nobody's really said, hey, this is where I'm going to be. And we're waiting for a couple guys to do that. And once that happens, we'll solidify exactly what we're going to do there.
Which is both a coach's way of wiggling out of a question, but also probably the truth. That, like, hey, if someone wants to step up and have a great game, then we'll happily put them a little bit closer to pen than pencil. But for right now, everything's on the table. And if Chigozie Anuzium, as he referred to earlier, winds up being the best practice player for this team over 3 weeks of practice, Chigozie Anuzium is probably going to find his way onto the field. So there's no one, whether it's contractually, Forbes is the closest one to contractually obligated to be on the field. That's too strong, but he's the guy with the most contractual security, and everybody else, like, there's no real long-term ties. So outside of Sainristil, obviously, and he's in a bit of a different category as he was drafted by this group. Speaking of Sainristil, what's the ideal for him? Inside, outside, rotating? Joe Whitt Jr. on his rookie.
Mike, in training camp, we had Mike inside a lot, and especially in the New York game, he was really sticky in the coverage and did a nice job. He has a lot of, really good call command. We moved him outside because of the need, and he got beat over the top on that one play and it was more of an understanding than just necessarily getting beat on it. But he's a young player that is coming and still developing. And once we get everybody together, he might move back inside. That might be his home. But for right now, we need him where we have him.
So it sounds like he might stay outside. And I also, again, wonder, like, how much of that is getting Igbenogany on the field if they think he's one of their better corners inside, and that's the path to do it. But it does beg the question, like, okay, well, if Forbes is coming back, and he's one of your top guys, theoretically, and Juice is played pretty well outside of 2 or 3 plays, and Sainristil, there's only 2 outsides. So I'm curious if either Forbes is possibly not coming back, if that's just hey, we're going to put him wherever and stop asking me these questions because I don't want to give away my answers. If it has something to do with Igbenogany and what they liked from him inside as a sticky physical player. But I guess we'll find out on Sunday. But there's also packages where he could be in multiple places. So going to be an interesting thing to track, I think, all season long, but especially as Forbes gets back in the lineup either this week or next.
Number 4.
So the touchdown pass heard around the world the other night. Jaden, 3rd and 7, deep, Terry, touchdown. Jaden smashed in the face. Ouchie, but all good. Just an iconic play. The first play that I think we 1,000% cement will be on the Jayden Daniels career highlight reel. So with that said, what about the guy that called it? What was his thought process going into it? What did he think of the play? Here's Kliff.
Yeah, really think players, not plays. Like, that's all that was. We basically invented a play because Terry said, I got him. And then you could see the confusion. I screwed up the play call because I was trying to kind of flip things and make it, and they just made it work. And so it's like, in that situation, I learned a long time ago, you think players, not plays, and those two guys made a hell of a play.
I cannot tell you, like, I want to give Kliff Kingsbury a hug after hearing that. Don't worry, Kliff. I don't know. Kliff doesn't strike me as a hugger.
Doesn't strike me as a hugger either.
Like a big celebration, like in the moment, bear hug guy, yes. Doesn't strike me as a hugger.
Nah.
So there's that. Don't worry, I'm not going to hug Kliff Kingsbury against his will. I'm not going to hug Kliff Kingsbury, period. But I want to, based off the idea of players, not plays. It's also a great explanation of why dudes were confused. Is like, Kliff's calling a play, but he's trying to tag it and make sure Terry, and eventually Jayden was just like, Luke, stop moving. We got the matchup we want. Just please don't line up illegally. Okay, set hut, bang, touchdown, Terry. But I can't tell you how many coordinators don't think like that. They're just like, they're going to run this coverage, so we got this, we got to do that. And Kliff's thought process is like, they're going to run this coverage. What's my best cover X beater? They're probably going to blitz. It's 3rd and 7. How do I get Terry isolated one-on-one? Let's just go 3-by-1. Let's get it. He said he wanted the play here. Because that's the other thing, too. Terry specifically asked, I want to be in the boundary. He didn't want to be the open side of the field because often safeties will shift over there, and there's some other things that make that harder. He wanted that condensed space, one-on-one. Let's make sure that I have where I want to be. So he gets to the boundary. He gets on that right side. They have to get everybody else in the right spot on the left, just basically to stand there and watch. And ball comes out, and Jayden hits it. So it's a throw that he knows his quarterback can make. It's the guy he wants the ball to go into, and they were able to dictate it. And that's big-time stuff from Kliff. I love that they did that. Obviously, he needs to, and he would say this, and kind of did, like, he's like, I screwed up. I think that's an admission. Like, he needs to be better about making sure that everyone's on the same page if they need to draw up a play in the dirt. But they'll work on that, and they ultimately got it done. So, hoorah, hoorah. All right, number 5.
Number 5.
Here in our pick 6 at 6. 6 biggest headlines of the day, every day at 6 o'clock for the Commanders. Jayden Daniels has thrown some touchdown passes, including that one to Terry, but he has yet to throw one to the other team. Not just a touchdown pass, a pick 6. He hasn't thrown a pass to the other team at all. How has he done it so far as a young quarterback? It's almost unprecedented in NFL history to have this few interceptions. There's a couple of like combo stats that Jayden has where he's the first guy to do it, and no interceptions is like one of the statistics. So how is Jayden Daniels avoiding the turnover bug that bites nearly every rookie in this league?
Oh, don't do that to him. Don't do that to him. I'm kidding. He just sees the field. He is a quick processor and a good decision maker, obviously, and he knows when the party's over. He knows when to throw it away or when to scramble and not force it in harm's way. And we're not built right now to overcome a lot of turnovers, and he knows that. And so we're trying to stay on schedule, be efficient, stay ahead of the chains, and he's really done a nice job so far of doing that.
I do kind of wonder, now that Kliff says that, like, I do wonder if Dan's like, hey, Kliff, can you not say that part out loud? The fact that he said...
That was definitely a stray, Chris.
It's like, we're not really built to overcome a lot of turnovers, and he knows that. Like, that's good that they're talking like that in the building. Like, hey, our defense... Because they're not going to be like, hey, guys, look, our defense is terrible. They have the... I heard on the Hoffman show the other day, they have the 5th worst DVOA in league history through 3 games, and they've been keeping that stat since 1979. I don't think that's happening in the team meetings, but they are probably like, hey, I mean, sometimes it's in games, right? Like, hey, guys, our defense needs us right now. Like, let's stay ahead. So they can be like more motivational, but there's also probably a reality like, hey, our defense is figuring some stuff out right now. We need to support them. We cannot turn the football over. So if you're not sure, just run. And especially like, as good as he is at running, and I bet you that is the instruction this weekend because Arizona plays some complex stuff defensively, and they're going to tell him, like, dude, if you're not sure, it's fine. Don't force it. Don't guess. Just run. And he can keep the chains moving that way and stay on schedule and score points. So I just do think that is genuinely hilarious that Kliff said that out loud.
It's okay for, some teams to be like, all right, we're going to ride our defense, but it's not okay to say we're going to ride our offense, considering what we have on the other side of the ball. That's crazy.
It's not like, hey, look, it's not like Kliff was like, yeah, they suck and they're going to continue to suck all year. So, Joe, you better buy me a nice Christmas gift. No, like they're gonna work as a unit and as best they can to make sure that they do as best as they can on Sunday and moving on forward. That defense is working really, really hard to get it figured out. They're not staffed to be awesome. And so there's just a reality of that. And that's good coaching ultimately is what it is. I think it's hilarious that he said it out loud, but like, what's the harm? I don't want to be like, I almost regret pointing it out because now like, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to say that again. And it's like, no, it's okay to be honest. Like we all see it. We know what the stats are. You didn't tell us anything new. It was actually refreshing to hear someone acknowledge reality for once. No coach, ban coach speak forever. That's what I say. All right. Last but not least.
Number 6.
Kliff did identify, speaking of being honest, a couple of areas in week 2 that he wanted to see improvement on going into week 3. Did he think that those specific areas were improved upon in Monday night's win over Cincinnati?
Yeah, the biggest deal was the negative plays. We had 18 in week 2, and we had 4 the other night, and it allowed us to not be in many third and longs and stay on schedule and play downhill and mix in some of the tempo, and I think that was the kind of secret sauce to being able to score in the red zone as well. No negative plays in the red zone, which the previous week was our Achilles heel. So I thought the negative plays was the biggest improvement.
Yeah, I mean, that's so big. And we talked about this morning on Take Command. You can check that out wherever you get your podcast, our preview show. Jaden's ability to keep them on schedule and to avoid the negative plays and even turn what would be negative plays into explosive chunk plays, like, man, that is enormously impactful because it just makes Kliff's job so much easier. There are no good plays on the play sheet for any coordinator for 3rd and 13. 3rd and 3, the entire playbook's open. And they've been in a lot more 3rd and 3s than they have 3rd and 13s this year. Real quick, bonus pick 6, just because I saw this in the transcript, Anthony. We don't need to pull the audio. Did you see that Kliff did answer one of the burning questions we had for Kliff Kingsbury upon his return to Arizona?
He did?
Yeah. He still has that house. The one from the 2020 draft that everyone saw.
Wow.
The one that was on Hard Knocks, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Kliff said he still had the house. On what comes to mind when he thinks about his time with the Cardinals and if he feels bitter about how it ended? Not at all. I mean, that's why I still got my house here. I love it out here, so I will always be grateful to Michael Bidwell for giving me that opportunity. I think this is actually a really funny quote. First fired college coach to ever get that opportunity. Kliff with a little self-deprecation. And then the guys in that building, some of my closest friends and the team. You watch those guys play, James Conner, Buda Baker, they still inspire me, so nothing but positive memories. And then someone followed up. If I had to bet money, I would say it was JP Finley. On if his house is the famous one from the draft, he said, it's the house. Yeah, it's the house. That's the one. It hadn't changed.
Wow.
So Kliff, I was wondering. Look at Kliffy coming through. He's still got the house.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.